What if I told you that the greatest construction project in human history was completed 400 or 500 years ago, and we still can't figure out exactly how they did it? Imagine trying to build a 48-story skyscraper using only copper tools and rope. Now imagine doing it with such impossible precision that the margin of error is less than the width of a human hair. And here's the really crazy part. You have to place 300 blocks per day, every single day, for 20 years straight. Each block weighs as much as a car. Some weigh as much as a private jet. This isn't science fiction. This is the Great Pyramid of Giza. And every theory we've had about how it was built, from massive ramps to armies of slaves, has been proven wrong. The real answer? It's far stranger and more impressive than anything Hollywood could dream up. No wheels, no iron tools, no modern machinery whatsoever. Yet somehow, the ancient Egyptians built something so perfect that it remained the tallest structure on Earth for 3,800 years. A monument so precisely aligned with true north that even our modern compasses would struggle to match it. A structure so massive that if you broke it down and rebuilt it as a wall, it would stretch from New York to Los Angeles. Right now, scientists are using thermal imaging, cosmic ray detectors, and ground-penetrating radar, and they're finding hidden chambers and voids that nobody knew existed. After thousands of years, the pyramid is still revealing its secrets. And if this mystery captivates you like it does me, smash that like button and subscribe, because what we're about to uncover will completely change how you think about ancient civilizations and what humans are truly capable of achieving. Here's something most people don't understand about the pyramids. They weren't just giant tombs built by an egotistical king. They were something far more profound, and this context changes everything about how we interpret their construction. To truly grasp why the pyramids exist, we need to step into the minds of people living 4,600 years ago. Around 2600 BC, Egypt wasn't just another ancient kingdom. It was the world's first superpower, a civilization operating at a level of sophistication that wouldn't be matched for millennia. While most of Europe was still living in primitive settlements, Egypt had developed writing, mathematics, medicine, and a bureaucratic system that could mobilize tens of thousands of people toward a single goal. But here's what really mattered to them. Religion wasn't separate from daily life. It was daily life. And at the center of their religious worldview was the pharaoh. Pharaoh Khufu, known to the Greeks as Cheops, ruled during Egypt's 4th dynasty. But calling him a ruler completely misses the point. To every Egyptian, from the highest priest to the lowest farmer, Khufu wasn't just a political leader. He was literally divine. Not symbolically divine, not metaphorically divine. Actually, genuinely divine. The living embodiment of Horus, the falcon-headed sky god. Think about what this means. When the pharaoh breathed, it maintained cosmic order. When his heart beat, it kept the universe in balance. He was the bridge between the human world and the realm of the gods. His existence guaranteed that the sun would rise tomorrow, that the Nile would flood and bring life to the desert, that chaos wouldn't consume the world. Now imagine what happens when this divine being dies. To the ancient Egyptians, this wasn't just a funeral. It was a cosmic crisis. If the pharaoh's soul didn't successfully transition to the afterlife and join the gods, the entire universe could collapse into chaos. The sun might not rise. The Nile might not flood. The ordered world could dissolve back into the primordial waters of none, the void that existed before creation. This is why the Great Pyramid wasn't simply a tomb or a monument to vanity. It was a machine for eternity, a precisely engineered vehicle designed to launch the pharaoh's soul into the heavens. Every shaft, every chamber, every angle was calculated to ensure the king's successful transformation from earthly ruler to celestial god. The pyramid was simultaneously a map of the cosmos, a resurrection machine, and a stairway to the stars. Understanding this religious context is absolutely crucial because it explains something that baffles modern observers. Why would any civilization invest such staggering resources, such enormous human effort, such vast quantities of stone and labor into a single building project? The answer becomes clear when you understand the stakes. This wasn't about building an impressive monument. This was about preventing the literal end of the world. Failure wasn't just unacceptable or embarrassing, it was unthinkable. If the pyramid failed in its purpose, if the pharaoh's soul couldn't ascend, if the rituals weren't performed with absolute perfection, then everything, the entire Egyptian civilization, every person, every harvest, every hope for the future could be destroyed. When you're building a structure to save the universe itself, suddenly nothing is too difficult. No stone is too heavy. No level of precision is too demanding. The pyramid had to be perfect because the alternative was cosmic annihilation. This is the mindset that moved mountains. Let's talk about scale, because numbers sometimes reveal truths that words cannot. The Great Pyramid originally rose to 481 feet, roughly equivalent to a modern 48-story building. But here's where it gets wild. This ancient wonder was constructed from approximately 2.3 million individual stone blocks, not bricks, not mud, massive limestone and granite blocks. The average block weighed between 2 and 3 tons. Some of the granite slabs used in the king's chamber tipped the scales at 80 tons. 80 tons. That's heavier than a fully loaded commercial airliner. And these weren't sitting at ground level. They were positioned high inside the pyramid with such precision that the joints between stones are thinner than a credit card. Here's another mind-bending fact. If you took all the stone from the Great Pyramid and cut it into foot-square blocks, you could build a wall around the entire country of France. The total weight? Approximately 6.5 million tons. To put that in perspective, that's more than all the concrete used to build the Hoover Dam. But perhaps the most staggering statistic is this. The entire project took just 20 years to complete. Do the math. That's nearly 300 blocks quarried, transported, shaped, and precisely positioned every single day for 2 decades straight. Even with modern technology, that pace would be considered aggressive. The pyramid's base covers 13 acres and forms an almost perfect square. Each side measures approximately 756 feet, with a variation between the longest and shortest sides of less than 2 inches. That's an error margin of 0.02%. The 4 sides align almost perfectly with the cardinal directions, off by less than 1/15 of a single degree. This level of precision in the 26th century BC is frankly absurd. It's the kind of accuracy that makes modern surveyors uncomfortable. For generations, we've been sold a lie. The image is burned into popular culture. Tens of thousands of Hebrew slaves, whipped and broken, dragging massive stones under the merciless Egyptian sun, while cruel overseers crack their whips. It's dramatic, it's compelling, and it's completely wrong. This myth probably started with biblical stories and was amplified by 20th century cinema. But archaeology tells a radically different story, and honestly, the truth is far more interesting than the fiction. In 1990, archaeologist Mark Lehner and his team made a discovery that changed everything. Just beyond the pyramids, they unearthed an entire workers' village complete with dormitories, breweries, bakeries, and even a medical facility. This wasn't a slave camp, it was a bustling community. The evidence is overwhelming. Workers received regular rations of meat, fish, bread, and beer. Egyptian beer, by the way, was more nutritious than alcoholic, essentially liquid bread. Analysis of bones found in the workers' cemetery revealed healed fractures, proving these people received medical care. Slaves don't get orthopedic treatment. Even more telling are the tombs themselves. Workers were buried with honor near the pyramid, their graves inscribed with titles and team names. Names like Friends of Khufu and Drunkards of Menkaure. Yes, construction crews literally gave themselves team names, complete with what can only be described as ancient trash talk. This was pride, not bondage. Modern estimates suggest the workforce numbered between 20,000 and 30,000 people, not the hundreds of thousands portrayed in Hollywood epics. This workforce operated in a sophisticated system with distinct roles. Skilled masons and surveyors formed the core of permanent workers. Seasonal laborers, mostly farmers, joined during the annual Nile flood, when agricultural work was impossible. This system was brilliant. It solved the problem of seasonal unemployment while mobilizing national resources for a sacred project. Researchers also discovered that workers were organized into competing teams, creating a sense of camaraderie and healthy rivalry. Graffiti found inside the pyramid includes team signatures and boasts about their work. These were people who took pride in their contribution to something eternal. The Pyramid Project wasn't built on suffering. It was built on belief, organization, and a sense of shared purpose that united an entire civilization. Now we arrive at one of the greatest logistical puzzles in human history. How did ancient Egyptians move 2.3 million blocks of stone, some weighing as much as 80 tons, without wheels, without steel, and without diesel engines? Most of the limestone came from local quarries right on the Giza Plateau, just hundreds of yards away. But the finest white limestone for the outer casing came from Tura, about 8 miles across the river. And those massive granite blocks, they traveled nearly 500 miles from Aswan in the south. For years, this seemed impossible to explain without invoking either aliens or lost technology. But recent discoveries have revealed something far more impressive: human ingenuity. The breakthrough came from studying ancient Egyptian artwork. A tomb painting shows workers hauling a colossal statue on a wooden sled, and at the front, a person pours water onto the sand. For decades, experts thought this was symbolic or ritualistic. Then, in 2014, physicists at the University of Amsterdam tested this technique and discovered something remarkable. When sand is dampened to the optimal moisture level, the grains bond together, and friction drops by up to 50%. This means you could move the same load with half the workforce. The Egyptians weren't pouring water for the gods. They were applying practical physics. Beyond wet sand, evidence suggests they built temporary tracks made of compacted mud and wooden planks. Discoveries at the Hatnub quarry revealed a sophisticated ramp system with side posts that workers could have used to control ropes and adjust pulling force. This wasn't brute strength alone. It was mechanical advantage. But the real game changer was water. Recent geological surveys revealed that an ancient branch of the Nile once flowed much closer to Giza than it does today. The Egyptians likely dug a network of canals that allowed boats loaded with stone to dock practically at the construction site. And then came the discovery that changed everything: the Diary of Merer. Found in 2013 in a cave near the Red Sea, this papyrus is the oldest known document directly related to pyramid construction. Merer was a mid-level official who oversaw stone transport. His diary describes in mundane detail how his team moved limestone blocks from Tura to Giza by boat through a canal system, making regular deliveries over several months. This wasn't speculation anymore. It was documentation. The Egyptians used the Nile as a highway, Egyptian engineering at its finest. Why fight the desert when you can sail on water? Moving the stones was one challenge. Lifting them was another entirely. How do you raise millions of tons of stone to heights exceeding 450 feet using only rope and wood? For centuries, the leading theory was a massive straight ramp extending from ground level to the pyramid's peak. Simple, logical, and completely impractical. Calculations showed that such a ramp, with a gentle enough slope to drag multi-ton blocks, would need to stretch for miles and contain more material than the pyramid itself. Plus, no archaeological evidence for such a structure has ever been found. Enter the spiral ramp theory. Instead of one long ramp, imagine a road that wraps around the pyramid like a corkscrew, rising gradually as the structure grows. This solves the volume problem and explains mysterious foundation traces found around some pyramids. The main challenge? Workers would need gaps to align the outer casing stones, but this could be managed with careful planning. Then came the boldest theory yet, proposed by French architect Jean-Pierre Houdin. What if the ramp wasn't outside the pyramid but inside it? According to Houdin, the Egyptians built an internal spiral ramp just beneath the outer surface. As the pyramid rose, workers dragged stones up this internal corridor. Once construction finished, the ramp was sealed inside, invisible to future generations. This theory seemed wild until thermal scanning and microgravity surveys detected anomalies inside the Great Pyramid, possible voids and corridors that align suspiciously well with Houdin's proposal. While not definitive proof, it's compelling enough that serious researchers are paying attention. Regardless of the ramp configuration, the Egyptians also relied on basic tools used with extraordinary skill. Wooden levers could lift blocks incrementally. Hemp ropes, woven into thick cables, provided immense tensile strength. Teams of workers coordinated their efforts with rhythmic chants, the ancient equivalent of a construction site foreman calling cadence. What's remarkable is that the wheel, which we consider fundamental to civilization, played almost no role in pyramid construction. The Egyptians simply found better solutions. If the logistics are impressive, the precision is downright eerie. After 45 centuries of weathering, earthquakes, and human interference, the Great Pyramid still showcases accuracy that modern engineers struggle to achieve. The alignment with true north is off by less than 1/15 of a degree. Without magnetic compasses or GPS, how did they achieve this? The answer likely lies in astronomy. The Egyptians were master stargazers. They probably used the circumpolar stars, celestial bodies that never set below the horizon. Some researchers believe they used a technique called the Indian circle method, tracking the rise and set positions of a star and bisecting the angle to find north. Others suggest they observed the shadow cast by a vertical pole at different times of day. Whatever the method, it worked with stunning effectiveness. Then, there are the mathematical mysteries. The pyramid's base perimeter divided by twice its height yields a number very close to pi. The angle of the slope produces a ratio suspiciously similar to the golden ratio phi, a number that appears throughout nature and classical architecture. The surface area of each face equals the area of a square whose side is the pyramid's height. Are these deliberate, or are they natural consequences of seeking harmonious proportions? The debate continues, but either way, they demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of geometry. The construction precision is equally baffling. The outer casing stones, most of which were stripped away centuries ago, were cut and fitted so precisely that the joints are nearly invisible. We're talking about tolerances measured in fractions of an inch over blocks weighing tons, with copper tools and stone hammers. Inside the king's chamber, granite blocks weighing up to 80 tons rest on each other without mortar, perfectly level, and have remained stable through countless earthquakes. Above this chamber, 5 relieving chambers distribute the enormous weight of the pyramid above, preventing collapse through elegant structural engineering. The pyramid's foundation sits directly on the bedrock of the Giza Plateau, carefully leveled to within fractions of an inch across 13 acres. This foundation, combined with the pyramid's geometry, has allowed it to withstand millennia while countless other structures crumbled to dust. Perhaps the most tantalizing mystery is the astronomical alignment of the entire Giza complex. When you look at the 3 main pyramids from above, their arrangement mirrors the 3 stars of Orion's belt with remarkable accuracy. Not just their positions, but even their relative sizes and slight offset. In Egyptian mythology, Orion was associated with Osiris, god of the afterlife and resurrection. The Egyptians believed the pharaoh's soul would ascend to join Osiris among the stars. If the Giza complex was designed as a terrestrial map of the heavens, it would represent the ultimate fusion of architecture, religion, and cosmology. The southern shaft from the king's chamber points directly toward Orion's belt as it appeared in 2500 BC. The northern shaft aligned with the pole star of that era. These weren't windows. They were symbolic pathways for the pharaoh's soul to reach the stars. Some researchers go further, proposing that the entire Nile Valley contains monuments positioned to mirror the Milky Way. While this correlation theory remains controversial, it highlights something undeniable. The ancient Egyptians saw their world as an earthly reflection of cosmic order. So how were the pyramids built? Not by aliens, not by slaves, not by lost technology. They were built by human beings using observation, experimentation, organization, and an unshakable sense of purpose. They were built by a civilization that understood leverage and friction, that used the Nile as a transport system, that organized tens of thousands of workers into efficient teams. They were built by people who tracked the stars with such precision they could align monuments to true north within fractions of a degree. They were built by a society that believed their king was divine, and that securing his passage to eternity was worth mobilizing the resources of an entire nation for 20 years. The pyramids stand as proof that humanity's greatest achievements don't come from having the most advanced technology. They come from combining whatever tools you have with creativity, determination, and shared belief in something larger than yourself. For 4,500 years, these structures have endured, surviving empires, religions, and civilizations. They were ancient when Rome was founded. They were ancient when Christ walked the earth. They will likely outlast our own civilization. And yet, mysteries remain. Hidden chambers may still lie undiscovered beneath the stone. Mathematical relationships we haven't decoded could be waiting for the right question. The pyramids have kept their secrets for millennia. What other wonders lie buried in the sands, waiting for us to be clever enough to find them? The answer may be out there, hidden beneath ancient stones, waiting for the next generation of explorers to uncover. If these ancient mysteries fascinate you as much as they do me, drop a comment below and let me know what aspect of the pyramids intrigues you most. The greatest human achievements aren't about having perfect tools. They're about having an impossible dream and refusing to accept that it can't be done. The Egyptians proved that 4,500 years ago, and that lesson echoes across the ages to us today.